So, okay, talking about the motivation skill quadrant and kind of where you sit on that quadrant and kind of how it affects your game. Um, as a coach of a program, the kids that the athletes that tend to give us the most fits, I think in a program, are the ones who are low motivation. Just as a group, there's low motivation. And so, and whether you are highly skilled or low skilled, as coaches, we get really frustrated. And depending on how old the kid is, how old an athlete is, that's going to affect how we deal with that. If we've got a young kid who's just starting out in the sport and they're low motivation and they're low skill is to be expected. But low motivation, yeah, that's in and of itself a tough thing to deal with, right? It's hard to instill motivation. And I think the older I get, the more I see that. Motivation comes from within. We can give examples of what an athlete who is motivated can become and the benefits that athlete can reap if they are highly motivated. But to that, eventually that motivation has to build inside the athlete itself. We can't turn it on like a light switch. Sometimes we can try to pull buttons, push buttons and pull strings, but eventually that motivation has to come within. So, but if I have an athlete who's low skill, so if I've got an athlete who's down here, this is a challenge. And the program that I run currently, we don't have a lot of those kids. Well, I don't think we have any of those kids. But there's a place for athletes to learn the game, to have coaches that can mentor them and can really encourage. And this goes back, if you watch my other video, kind of the 4 ages of every athlete, these both tie together. The motivation skill quadrant and the 4 ages of every athlete, they pull together. From both sides. Okay, so an athlete who's low motivation, low skill, it's kind of hard to deal with as a coach. But there's a place and a time, and we really want to nurture and help that kid along so that they can see the benefits of being a little bit more motivated, having a little bit more skill. I think with more skill comes more motivation, and they feed off each other. Correct? Okay, so we can have though athletes who are in the highly motivated but low skill, okay? Somewhere in here. These athletes, in my mind, are a lot of fun, okay? In my experience coaching, they tend to be the jokesters on the team. They look to the athletes who are highly skilled and highly motivated and kind of needle them a little bit. And what I think is kind of interesting about these kids is that an athlete that falls into this category is a key component to your team. I think every team, right? You're going to have highly skilled, highly motivated kids. You're going to have a spectrum that kind of goes across here and down here. And the kids who are high motivation but low skill, they give an ingredient to the team that is kind of fun and kind of necessary. It keeps kind of light, okay? But as long as that athlete is working hard, okay, and trying their best and not being a distraction, that's one of the big rules on any team that I'm on, is that you're not a distraction to someone who's doing work, okay? So because we don't want an athlete taken away from these guys. Like, these guys are trying to move up and on, and any other athlete is helping there is to help support that and not to pull from that, not to be a distraction. Okay, so that's really important to me. So athletes who are low skill but highly motivated, a lot of fun to be around. They tend to work. Okay, they're a good environment, but as a coach, right, we want that athlete to know that, man, if when that skill starts coming for you, okay, that work you're putting in is going to start to pay off. That skill's going to start climbing up. A lot of times, what I see with athletes like this is that their belief of the skill that they have and the skill that they can acquire, it's really here, okay? If they just believed a little bit better that they could have that skill, then their skill acquisition goes up real quickly. And then eventually now you have an athlete who's been highly motivated for a while, fun to be around, and now their skill creeps up and you're like, man, they're making like most improved player of the year. They're getting ground balls, they're having fun, and they're a lot of fun to be around, okay? So that is the highly motivated, low skilled athlete and how it affects your team and what it can do for you as the athlete and what you need to work on, okay? So now let's move on to the other end of the quadrant.